Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another monthly live stream for the channel. Sorry, a little tongue-tied there. I'm your host, Raging Antibody, and I will be joined by Steven later. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but Jamie and Sarah are both busy today, so they cannot make it. Some family stuff, it's summer. They're going to have, stuff to do, so... But, all right, so let's get right into it. So a couple of channel updates right off the bat. We've been doing every week reviews and a full breakdown of the latest movies coming out. Seems to be people like them, so we're going to keep doing that. We've got a couple of them planned coming up already. So, if you have any suggestions of films that you'd like to see reviewed or broke down, let us know. In the future, we might also do some TV series. Most likely, the one that I'm looking forward to doing is Alien Earth, but that won't be until August. So if you would like to see that, let us know in the comments, or in our community tab. Feel free to chat with us there, or hit us up on any of the various social media sites that we're on. Let us know, if that's something you'd be into. Otherwise, don't worry. The weekly, the 2 weekly videos of our lists are always going to, we have plenty of those planned, so those are going to keep going. Other than that, the store will be seeing a major overhaul in the next couple of weeks. New merchandise will be coming out on the store, as well as like a redesign of the layout and whatnot. We also are changing distributors, so that international shipping is not going to be a problem anymore. Right now, we've had a lot of problems with shipping to other countries, and so, but we found a new distributor who was willing to work with us on that, and so that we can still keep the costs of the merchandise low, so that you guys aren't paying an arm and a leg for a t-shirt, But we do greatly appreciate your support, so if you do check out the website, it's fatninja.shop. And all the proceeds go to the channel to help us fund our next film projects, to pay for the writers and the other recording people. And so thank you very much for those of you who have supported us, and those of you who have even just, spread the information around. So, all right, let's get into it. I think that's all for the channel news. Let's get into it. We're going to start with gaming, what's coming out in the game world here. Sorry, I got some crumbs on me here. Well, the Switch 2 just dropped, right? And there's big old controversy about all that, right? I guess in one of the stores, somebody stapled receipts to them, broke a bunch of screens, so that pissed off a lot of people. And of course, scalpers. Everybody's most hated group of people are scalpers who bought Switches for the regular price and are now trying to sell it on eBay for like $1,000, $2,000. Screw those guys. Just wait. Nintendo is shipping a bunch more, so just wait and you'll get your hands on them. But that being said, since the Switch 2 released, the big one that people are looking forward to right now, or it actually has come out already because it came out with the Switch, was Mario Kart World. To be honest, I love Mario Kart. My favorite, though, was Double Dash back on the GameCube. Some of the newer mechanics and stuff I'm not a big fan of. I don't really care about all the mini games and stuff that they include in it, But for the people who are looking to get more out of their Mario Kart, this is the perfect one to get into because it does offer the classic style, but also a whole bunch of more modes and whatnot. I saw that they are doing something with kind of like that little Mario Kart toy thing that they had, where you could like race in the real world or whatever. They're doing something similar where you can capture images with the Switch 2, like real world images, and port them into the game. I guess it's similar to the way Inzoi did it, so I'm not quite sure, but whatever. if that's your jam, then make sure to pick up Mario Kart World, which is out right now, and it is $80. Um, Next up is Dune Awakening, the next big MMO from Funcom Studios. Now, if you know that name Funcom, they are the people responsible for Conan Exiles, which is actually a really, really fun and interesting MMO. Dune Awakening obviously takes place in the Dune universe. I believe it is set years prior to the events of the films. Before the Atreides family takes over. I'm not quite 100% sure on the plot, but essentially you create your own character and you're fighting for control over Arrakis, right? The spice must flow. So, but it looks amazing. Combat looks amazing. The graphics look beautiful. The size of the world that you can explore looks absolutely mind-boggling. So I definitely would recommend checking this one out. It does release on June 10th for the PS5, the Series X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. So make sure to, if that's your jam, pre-order it now. I think you get a couple of extra bonuses if you pre-order it before it comes out. But otherwise, put it on your calendar, June 10th. And last but not least, Death Stranding 2. Now, for those of you who played Death Stranding 1, you already know this is probably one of the most weirdest games to ever come out period. But it is definitely a very Kojima game. People have called it a walking simulator. People have called it a story game. People have called it a building simulator, survival game. It's got all sorts of elements in it. But the primary element was always that players, even without directly interacting with each other, would work together to build a better world, right? And it's kind of Kojima's kind of mission statement, right, for our current socio-political times here when it concerns the entire world, is that if everybody does their part, even if you don't see the immediate effects, every time somebody does something good, it does in the long run help everyone else for the better, right? And that's kind of what Death Stranding was, right? Now, Death Stranding 2, on the other hand, looks like it's introducing a bunch of new mechanics beyond the helping each other whatever thing, right? In fact, it is introducing something called the Automated Porter Assistant System, which is basically like a skill tree, right? So you deliver your packages or do whatever, build your bridges and so on and so forth, right? And you earn skill points, which you can then put into different attributes, right? Which I don't know what the skill tree looks like yet, but it does. I'm assuming it's going to help you climb better, be more steady when carrying tons of packages, stuff like that. There's also a heavier influence on combat, meaning that there's going to be a lot more firefights and stuff like that. Not just your well, there's no other way to say this. Not just your blood and pee bullets, but you're going to actually have real weapons this time. And it looks like what's his face is back. As the villain, and he's got now an army, right? So we'll see how that goes. Elle Fanning is joining the cast. I don't know in what capacity. Maybe she's a young version of your sister, or maybe she is the little baby all grown up, or something. I'm not sure. So we will find out. But the game does release on June 26th for all systems, PS5 and PS5, Series X, and PC at least. So make sure you pre-order whatever, put that one on your calendar. It looks really interesting. There's a ton of trailers out for it. Fun fact. Hideo Kojima recently gave an interview about it, saying he was a little bit disappointed in how positive the audience reaction was. And I thought this was kind of hilarious because Hideo Kojima loves to thrive on a little bit of controversy, right? He loves to get a good debate going, right? I mean, that's like if you played any Metal Gear Solid games, that's pretty much all that is one giant, a lecture about, a peaceful world versus a military industrial world, right? I mean, is war good, or is war better than peace, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? What's better for the human evolution, essentially, right? So, or societal evolution. Essentially, that's kind of, the human condition is at the forefront of Death Stranding as well. So, I guess he was hoping for a more controversial decision in the audience testing, that he was hoping that there would be like a balance between people who hated it and people who liked it, but it seemed like it got an overwhelming positive reception. And I think that's due in part because most people have seen or played the first one at least, so they kind of already know what the series is like and what to expect. And so that's why when a lot of people see Death Stranding 2, usually anytime a game gets a sequel, it usually has a more positive response, because people already know the characters and know the world and want more of it, right? Unless the game absolutely sucks balls, people are going to say nice things about it. So I think that's where that comes from. Anyways, so moving on, we're going to talk about TV shows coming up. I've only got 3 this time, because unfortunately, Night of the Seven Kingdoms got pushed back to 2026. I am definitely looking forward to that show, but we'll talk about it more closer when the trailers have dropped and the release date is coming up. But let's start off with Nautilus, which comes out on June 29th. Now, for those of you who like old school science fiction, like Jules Verne and stuff, that's basically what this is, right? You follow Captain Nemo on the Nautilus as he, goes into the depths and explores all ancient mysteries and finds secret treasures and stuff. This is what they had to say about the plot. The Nautilus series, a reimagining of Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, follows Captain Nemo, an Indian prince turned crusading scientist, as he rebels against the British East India Mercantile Company and their subjugation of nations. Nemo, a prisoner of the company and designer of the Nautilus, leads a revolt to seize the submarine and escape, embarking on a journey of revenge and destruction. So think both a kind of like Doctor Who, like adventures and or maybe not Doctor Who, but like Indiana Jones, like adventures and exploration mixed with Pirates of the Caribbean. That's the best way I could probably explain that, it doesn't look like it's the highest of budgets of shows, but if you can look past that, it does look like an entertaining good time. I believe it is a BBC show, which means it'll be available on iPlayer and then eventually probably Prime. But make sure to check that one out. It comes out on June 29th. Next up is Ironheart, Marvel's newest entry into their cinematic universe. This one releases on June 24th on Disney+. The plot synopsis is: genius teenage inventor Riri Williams creates the most advanced suit of armor since Iron Man. Now, to be honest, I don't really care. They kind of ruined the character when they put her in into the Black Panther movie, and they kind of like gave her this very basic personality, which made me uninterested in the character. There was nothing really special about it. She is basically just the Chicago version of Shuri. You know what I mean? There's nothing really, I don't know, amazing about her right off the bat. Now, I could be wrong. The show may go into depth, character depths that we haven't seen, and really flesh out the character. But from what I've seen from the trailer, it is almost a step-by-step retelling of Tony Stark, right? Because of, the attack, she was trying to build something cool based on like somebody she admired. Then because of an attack on her, now she's forced to build like this combat suit or whatever, and she's going to go through several different iterations before she lands on, the perfect one. And then she's going to rebrand herself Ironheart and probably get recruited to the new Avengers through Ms. Marvel or something. I've never been a fan of teenage heroes, really, with the exception of like maybe Spider-Man and Nightwing or something like that. But for the most part, especially teenage superhero teams, I find them annoying. I don't find them relatable. Even when I was a teenager, I didn't find them relatable. I just don't care. There's usually, and the problem with the MCU is a lot of these characters, whether it's the new Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, who else am I missing here? Bug Girl. I don't know what her name was off the top of my head, but Ant-Man's daughter. They all have the same personality, snarky with sarcastic quips, and they basically have the same powers as the person that they're emulating. They're all interchangeable. Like there's nothing to really make them stand out that I want to root for any of them in particular. So, am I excited? Not really. Am I going to see it? Probably, because there's probably going to be stuff in there that I need to know for the upcoming Secret Wars and Doomsday films, which I am excited to see. So, but again, Ironheart releases on Disney Plus on June 24th. So if that's your bag, make sure to check it out then. Last but not least for TV, Hell Motel. Now this one looks actually really interesting. Hell Motel is basically 10 true crime obsessives invited to the opening weekend of a newly renovated Cold River motel, the site of a 30-year-old unsolved satanic mass murder. History repeats itself when the guests start getting knocked off one by one. Right, so I watched the trailer. It looks fun. It is a very typical Shudder production. Basically, you got a bevy of podcasters and YouTubers, true crime ones, right? And they tick all the boxes, right? For all the quote unquote stereotypes of different people for I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying anything against diversity. I love diversity in my films and stuff because it makes things feel more natural. But they literally have like one of each type of person that got together, and I don't know. It just feels a little bit forced, but whatever. The characters all look fun and interesting. And well, they get to the hotel. They're encouraged to stay here because the hotel wants to make money, right? They want guests to return and stuff. So they invited these podcasters to solve the mystery, except, all of a sudden there's a killer on the loose and people start getting stabbed and murdered in very spectacular ways, right? The killer kind of, if you guys seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, if you remember the long white demon mask, from one of the kids, right? That's what the killer looks like. Just obviously 6 foot tall. So it's kind of funny, kind of like a Scream ripoff almost, except he's got horns, right? Or in the Hell Motel show, he's got horns. Anyways, but yeah, so killer's on the loose. Now, it could either be some random person, it could be the original killer back to murder everybody, it could be one of the hotel employees, or it could be one of the podcasters. It will be a 10-episode limited series, and it will be running on Shudder. I believe it is coming out on June 17th. So, again, running for 10 episodes, and it looks pretty gruesome. There's some pretty cool deaths. They foreshadow in the trailer and stuff like that. So we'll see who ends up, how many bodies end up being stacked up by the end of the film, by the end of the series. But yeah, so make sure you check that out. Again, Shudder, June 17th. All right, let's head to movies here. We are speeding along. We'll slow it down just a little bit here. So on the movies side, we're going to start off with The Life of Chuck. Now, the reason I'm starting with this one is because I just saw it in theaters. It was really, really good. Like, I wouldn't call it best movie of the year, but it is definitely a movie worth seeing, especially right now with everything going on in the world and stuff like that. This movie feels like a kind of necessary commentary on it, but also something that people need to hear. Maybe when they're having, if they're feeling particularly down or stressed out about things going on, right? Now, Life of Chuck was originally a short story within the book If It Bleeds, written by Stephen King. For a lot of you, most of the stuff you know by Stephen King is going to be horror. I mean, that's where he made his bread and butter for. But Stephen King has obviously also written very many more character-driven stories that are less horror and more spiritual, maybe. I don't know. Like, they still have like drama and whatever in it. For example, Shawshank Redemption or The Green Mile, right? But they are more about that human element, right? About how characters deal with certain events rather than some sort of spooky ghost or monster, right? Life of Chuck is that. I don't want to go into spoilers. We will be dropping a review and a full breakdown next week, so make sure to come back and check that out, along with Lilo and Stitch. But yeah, and I have made a short video clip I put on the channel for one of my favorite scenes from Life of Chuck, featuring Matthew Lillard. Man, that guy, he's an underappreciated actor. He is really, really a fantastic actor. And he's unfortunately not in the film very much, but that one scene that he really, his big scene, he absolutely nails it. And anyways, but for those of you who want to know what the plot is, here we go. The Life of Chuck is 3 separate stories linked to tell the biography of Charles Krantz in reverse, beginning with his death from a brain tumor at 39 and ending with his childhood in a supposedly haunted house. Now, I'm going to spoil a little bit by saying there is no ghosts in this movie. All right? It's not that kind of haunted house. In fact, what's the best way to... If you've seen the movie Premonition with Sandra Bullock, the house kind of has that effect on people. Except you don't get to choose what you see. It just, not directly. It shows you things that will matter to you and how it all plays out and stuff. But anyways, the cast is epically strong. You've got Matthew Lillard, you got Chiwetel Ejiofor, you've got Tom Hiddleston, Mark Hamill. I mean, there are so many actors and even actresses, right? Karen Gillan is in it and such, that fill the film, and they all do a remarkable job. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it because I've seen it. But ultimately, the film isn't so much about this guy dying as much as it is, especially in the first act of the film, but it is more about him realizing, him coming to terms, like him loving himself, right? Him realizing he is who he is, and he loves himself the way he is, and everybody is unique, and everybody should get that chance to enjoy their life. And this is what I mean why I think it's important for people to watch, because there's so much going on right now where people are trying to stop other people from living their lives because they don't agree with their lifestyle or so on and so forth. And Life of Chuck, the message in there is, why? If it's not hurting you, why try to stop somebody from living the life that they want to live? If they want to, you know, especially now, given that it's Pride Month, right? For a happy Pride, by the way, to any of you who celebrate. But if you want to be a dancer, you want to be a musician, you want to be an artist, you want to be a writer, you want to work on cars, you want to build houses, you want to travel the world and eat foods and talk about that. You're gay, you're straight, you're trans, whatever. None of that should matter to other people except to you, right? If that's what you want to do or you want to be, then that's the only important factor. Other people should have no say in that. There shouldn't be laws against it. There shouldn't be you shouldn't get banned from places just for being that way, or living that kind of lifestyle, whatever you want to say. Like, the importance is that you only get one life, and nobody knows how long that life will be, and so you should be able to enjoy the time that you have on this earth, and like I said, that's the message of the film, and it's a really beautiful message. They don't go that deep with it, but they kind of do. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of other stuff going on, especially in the first act. You're going to be like, when you see the first act of the film, you're going to be like, what's he talking about? None of that is in this. This movie's like dark and depressing and whatever. And then all of a sudden, act two completely switches tones, And again, because it starts with his death and then goes reverse chronological order, to show how he got to that point. But anyways, point is, it's a great film, well acted, well scored. And the film is out now in theaters. So it came out on June 6th. It came out yesterday, but it is out now in theaters. I highly recommend going to go check that one out. All right. Next up on the list is Ballerina. This is a side story in the John Wick film franchise. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with John Wick, it's basically... it's a world filled with a bunch of assassins, right? They all, there's like this underground, like, organization, I guess, that run all these, different hotels and whatnot, where these assassins operate out of. Now, on the hotels themselves, you can't kill anybody, so it's safe. It's like, it's holy ground or whatever, But outside the hotels, it's free game. Well, John Wick, one of the best assassins ever, played by Keanu Reeves, right? He's like the world's top assassin. They call him the Boogeyman, right? Somebody screwed with him after he retired, killed his dog, and so he went on a rampage. And that chicken shit hid in one of the hotels. And so John Wick said, screw this. I don't care. Come at me, bro. Shot the dude in the hotel. Every assassin in the world wanted to kill him, get a piece of him for breaking the rules. And, spoiler alert, but in John Wick 4, he dies. He dies at the end. I mean, he kills the guy who put out the hit and tried to screw him over and all this other stuff, but he also dies, maybe. We'll see, I guess. You never know. They could bring him back through some quirks or some interesting whatever. Now, Ballerina takes place, I believe, between John Wick 2 and 3. And it's John Wick does appear in the film, but it is mostly about Ana de Armas's character, Ballerina. The plot says, from the world of John Wick, Ballerina is an upcoming American action thriller film directed by Len Wiseman and written by Shay Hatton. It is the fifth film in the John Wick franchise, serving as a spin-off set between the events of John Wick. Oh, so it's between John Wick Chapter 3 and John Wick Chapter 4. So I thought it was 2 and 3, but it's 3 and 4. As far I haven't personally seen it. I do have a copy of it. I have to watch it. I was gonna review it for the channel. I'm not sure if anybody really cares that much. There's not really a lot of buzz going around about it, but I assume it's going to be full of cool stunts, and Ana de Armas isn't, it's not that she's, difficult to look at, right? I mean, she is a very beautiful actress. Talent wise, it's hit or miss, but we'll see. I'm sure she pulls off some amazing feats in the film. I watched an interview about it where she said that she had to train in over 150 different weapon styles. So, cool. I think it's going to be awesome. Going to be a little bit of a blast. But other than that, I can't really say too much else about it. I wish that Steve or somebody else was here. Maybe they have more to offer to say about it. But personally, it looks like a by the numbers action film, which I'll probably watch whenever I get a chance to. But I'm not rushing to the theaters to see. However, that being said, if you are a huge fan of John Wick, of the franchise, and you have been waiting for this film, it came out yesterday, June 6th as well. And so it is currently in theaters now. So make sure you head over and let us know in the comments what you thought of it. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it is like the best thing ever. It's one of those flies under the radar type of action films, right? Where nobody goes to see it, and then all of a sudden everybody goes, man, why didn't anybody go see this? Like Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron. That was a great film that sadly was very underrated. All right, next up on the list, we'll talk about How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action adaptation of the DreamWorks 3D animated film. This film comes out in theaters on June 13th, so next Friday. The plot summary is, on the rugged Isle of Berk, a Viking boy named Hiccup defies centuries of tradition by befriending a dragon named Toothless. However, when an ancient threat emerges that endangers both species, Hiccup's friendship with Toothless becomes the key to forging a new future. Together, they must navigate and dedicate the path toward peace, soaring beyond the boundaries of their worlds and redefining what it means to be a hero and a leader. So, beat for beat, the plot's going to be the same as the original cartoon was, maybe a few subtle changes here or there. But essentially, I mean, if you've seen the original cartoon, you kind of know what to expect. I did see the trailers. They did a really amazing job bringing Toothless to life. He looks just as cute as he did in the cartoon, complete with his cat-like features and mannerisms. So I do want to see this one. Some of the original cast they brought back, which is interesting. Like I believe that Gerard Butler is still playing the father, which is great. Unfortunately, not Justin Long, what's his name? From the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Now I can't think of his name. Whatever. But he aged out. He can't play, a 14-year-old anymore, right? So they replaced him with some new actors. I saw that there was, of course, controversy about some of the actors that they chose to play some of the other characters, but we're not going to go into that because that's stupid nonsense. I think the people that they chose have good chemistry with each other. From the trailer from what I've seen in the trailer, they nail their roles, they nail the lines. The action looks fun. The humor looks great. So I'm definitely hyped for this film. Again, this movie comes out in theaters on June 13th. So make sure to check that one out. Quick mention, we were going to talk about Dirty Dancing 2. So Jennifer Grey from the original Dirty Dancing. I know that there's actually a Dirty Dancing 2 that's out called, Dirty Dancing 2 Havana Nights. But this Dirty Dancing 2 would ignore that sequel. So it's kind of like a reboot, like the 2018 Halloween movies and whatnot. This film would have been produced by Jennifer Grey from the original film. Unfortunately, Patrick Swayze has passed away, so he couldn't reprise his role. But it would have seen her return to the vacation resort, and a new crop of kids are, getting ready to dance and do all that stuff, right? And I believe would have been one of the teachers there teaching the dance, taking over Johnny's, Patrick Swayze's role, which would have been cool. Apparently, the film is not canceled, but there's no trailer for it. The original release date was supposed to be June of this year, right? It still says summer 2025, but again, no official release date anymore, and no trailers or nothing. But they have said that it is not canceled. So I'm assuming there's one of two issues. Either they have an issue with the production studio, like the distributor, right, which I believe is Universal, which Universal always has trouble or causes trouble with stuff, right? Or the film didn't test well, and they're contemplating whether to release it in theaters or straight to streaming. If it's straight to streaming, they'll drop a trailer like a week or the day of the movie is coming out, which will be a little bit disappointing, but whatever. Point is, a lot of the original cast is returning, and it is supposed to be a direct sequel to the original Dirty Dancing, and if that's one of your favorite films, it was definitely one of mine growing up. Then make sure to keep an eye out for this one. Like I said, there is no release date, no no nothing, but it is not canceled. It is for sure still coming out. All right, next up on the list, F1. This film drops in theaters on June 27th. It stars Brad Pitt and Javier Bardem and Karen Gillan. Personally, I'm not a big racing fan, but I know a lot of people enjoy racing. Now, this is, the world racing. It's not NASCAR. This is the Formula One, right? Which I believe is, at least as far as that I've read, is way more dangerous and crash prone than NASCAR is. But whatever. The cars go like twice the speed of a standard NASCAR, which is insane. So we're talking 200, 300 miles. I don't know about 300, but over 200 miles per hour. I mean, that's insane, right? So I couldn't imagine being able to go around in a circle that fast, but whatever. Anyways, the plot says, in the 1990s, Sonny Hayes was Formula One's most promising driver until an accident on the track nearly ended his career. 30 years later, the owner of a struggling Formula One team convinces Sonny to return to racing and become the best in the world. Driving alongside the team's hotshot rookie, Sonny soon learns that the road to redemption is not something you can travel alone. So I watched the trailer. And the trailer is, starts off pretty much, like he's this glorified racer. Oh no, tragic accident, and that sucks. His career is over. But then, whatever. Brad Pitt getting in shape, right? Doing his Brad Pitt thing. Gets recruited by Javier Bardem to race for him, bring back the glory days, right? Now the new guy, I don't know what the actor's name is, but the new guy is not impressed. He's like, man, old people don't belong in sports, which is sentiment often in various sports, right? A lot of people have issues with older people and stuff in there, but whatever. I digress. At first he's all kind of like, man, this guy, he ain't shit, he ain't gonna make it, whatever, and stuff like that. Brad Pitt's like, just wait and see what I can do, right? And but eventually, I guess Brad, like how most racing, sports dramas go, eventually Brad Pitt's going to impress him, and those two are going to forge a bond or mutual respect at the very least, and yada yada yada, right? The only reason I kind of want to see this is it's by the Top Gun Maverick director, and he is big on doing practical effects versus computer generated ones, right? So that means all the crashes and the cool, whatever stuff that's going to happen in there, even the racing itself, is all going to be performed, like actually performed, instead of just done on a computer, and have them whatever, like the Speed Racer movie back in 2008. This one will actually feature like real stunt drivers racing around the track at high speeds and then possibly crashing their cars and whatnot, because it does look like, from the trailer at least, it looks like there's going to be quite a few crashes, or at least close calls. So, but yeah, it is the Top Gun Maverick director. So, and you know, he blew the world away when he put out Top Gun Maverick. So, here's hoping that, I guess, he can do it again. But it is a racing film, so I don't know if that's where all the audience, you know, how big of an audience there is for that. But if you are interested, the film does release in theaters on June 27th. So next up is Elio. Elio is Disney Pixar's newest animated offering. Plot synopsis: Elio, an underdog with an active imagination, finds himself inadvertently beamed up to the Communiverse, an interplanetary organization with representatives from galaxies far and wide. Mistakenly identified as Earth's ambassador to the rest of the universe, he starts to form new bonds with eccentric aliens while discovering who he's truly meant to be. I love Pixar's space-based, sci-fi little animated films. However, track record speaking, they don't always do well. As great as WALL-E was, or any of those films, they didn't really do too well box office wise. You know, I guess the more goofy or whatever ones always did more, better, I guess. But I don't know. Elio looks charming. It looks interesting. You know, the kid is, obviously a precocious, little know-it-all and stuff. That's who's probably feels like he doesn't, as most characters do. He's the outsider. He doesn't feel like he fits in anywhere on Earth, right? And dreams of exploring the universe, of like Star Trek, right? Of getting out there, meeting new species and all that stuff. It's probably it's probably gonna have the standard formula. We get an introduction to him and his family life. Then he gets beamed up. He makes friends, but he also makes an enemy. Then when he wants to return to Earth to try to whatever, introduce the aliens to Earth, somebody up there, one of the aliens is probably going to have like a beef with that, start a war, start a battle, and then he's gonna join forces with his friends to change the heart of the alien bad guy or something. I mean, I don't expect a deep plot from the film, but I do expect some deep emotional moments and some commentary on the human condition and whatnot. And so I do think it will be a fun watch. The film releases in theaters on June 20th, with apparently, now I'm not sure if this is a rumor or if this is fact, but apparently, depending on its first week in the theaters, if it doesn't do too well, there will be an immediate pay-per-view version on Disney Plus. So we will see, I guess, But if not, otherwise, head to theaters on June 20th to check out Elio. Again, it looks like an adorable little film, so I think it'll do well. Well, at least well enough. Next up is Megan 2.0. This film releases in theaters on June 27th, and it is a sequel to, you guessed it, Megan. I am not interested in this at all. I am not. It's too little, too late for them to make a sequel. On top of that, it looks like they totally... This is a movie made by the marketing team, not a movie made by creatives who were trying to come up with a real sequel. Everything from the trailer is basically a bunch of boomers who don't understand how memes and stuff work, trying to capitalize on that hype that they accidentally fell into with the first film. Like with all right, so if anybody for to understand what I'm talking about, the first film when it first came out, it wasn't like it was a big deal. Oh no, a female robot killing machine, AI gone rogue. That wasn't what hyped this film up. It was that stupid TikTok dance that she did. And now they just had her do it. They didn't know that it would become that much of a viral moment, They lucked out on that, right? And it catapulted that movie into success, or at least enough success that it greenlit a sequel. This new film with slogans like "She is that bitch," it's they are trying too hard, and it shows. And this film just looks awful. It just the plot is stupid. The dialogue and the comedy just do not at least for me, does not resonate with me. This film, and they say it's going to be much more brutal and whatever, more kills and stuff like that, but I'll be honest, I couldn't care less. I just couldn't care less about this film. I will see it to do a review on it, but I can tell you that review is not going to be nice, most likely. I mean, who knows? I have, in the past, I'll admit, I have been not enthused for a film, and then after seeing it going, oh, holy shit, that is not the film they advertised. This film is actually way better than I thought it was going to be, However, I mean, there's the opposite is true too. I've seen trailers, for films where I'm like, that looks amazing. And then you go see the movie and everything amazing happened in the trailer. And you're like, well, that was it. There's nothing else. Like Heart Eyes, for example. Heart Eyes left me feeling like that. It was a little bit disappointing, right? But anyways, as far as Megan 2.0 goes, it comes out in theaters on June 27th. This is the plot synopsis, just in case. 2 years after Megan, a marvel of artificial intelligence, went rogue and embarked on a murderous rampage, its creator, Gemma, has become an advocate for government oversight of AI. Unbeknownst to her, a defense contractor has created a military-grade weapon known as Amelia, the ultimate infiltration spy. However, as Amelia's self-awareness increases, it becomes less interested in taking orders. Hoping to stop Amelia, Gemma decides to resurrect Megan, making it faster, stronger, and more lethal. Now, I do want to say this about the plot. The idea that the government, because let's be real, in the world we have unfortunately, a huge sex trafficking problem. How do you combat that? Well, imagine creating a lethal Terminator that looks like, an attractive, quote unquote, young teenage girl, right? She gets abducted, or whatever you set up the circumstances that she gets abducted, gets sold off, and she, then obviously, she's a super trained super robot or whatever, she goes all taken on the bad guys and takes them all out, right? Now, that's the movie I want to see. Not this. I don't want to see two AI robots fight each other with basically the same storyline from the first film. I could care less. But I would have loved to see something like, Megan meets Chappie. That would have been interesting. You know what I mean? But again, that's not what we're getting. This is what we're getting. So, but if that's if that's something you're looking forward to, make sure to head over to theaters on June 27th to see it, right? So, all right, and last but not least, the film I am looking forward to the most this year is 28 Years Later. Now, what the I think 28 Weeks Later came out in 2010. So we've been waiting 14 years for a sequel, you know, and not to mention an actual Danny Boyle sequel, which is what now, 20 years, you know? I mean, holy shit. I think 28 Days Later came out in 2004 or 2002. I'm not sure. You know what? It's been a while. It's a long time, long ass time, right? So we've been waiting for a sequel for a while. And we always joked too that eventually it would go to 28 weeks or 28 years and whatever and stuff like that. And I can't believe that they actually did it. So I'm hyped though. I saw that the trailers are very artistic, but also very intriguing. It doesn't give away too much of the plot. But speaking of the plot, this is what IMDb has to say. It's been almost 3 decades since the Rage virus escaped from a biological weapons laboratory. Still living in a ruthlessly enforced quarantine, some people have found ways to exist amid the infected. One such group of survivors lives on a small island connected to the mainland by a single, heavily defended causeway. When one of them decides to venture into the dark heart of the mainland, he soon discovers a mutation that has spread to not only the infected, but other survivors as well. Now, in the trailer, we've seen it's like this, like tribe almost, like this, like they've kind of like formed this hive mind with a and learn to work together and become smarter again, I guess, or whatever, right? Now, we know that Cillian Murphy is back. A lot of people assume that he's the one who mutated or whatever because of how 28 Days Later ended, where he is kind of infected, right? Like, I mean, he's not, but he is. And we also learned that in 28 Weeks Later, right, that there are some people who just become carriers. So what happens to those carriers over time is maybe that they become mutated, right? And they still retain some sort of ability to think and control themselves, right? But because they have the virus within them, the other rage infected do not attack them, and so they kind of follow their lead. I don't know. I mean, we will find out for sure when the movie comes out, which, by the way, is on June 20th, so real soon. But I don't know. It looks really fantastic. I cannot wait. I've been dying for this film for decades now, right? I've been wanting to see it. In the past I've called it a zombie film. It is and it isn't, right? If you use zombie as a broad term, right, then it is, because technically even the word zombie isn't what really a zombie is, right? Not if you study where that word originally came from hoodoo and whatnot, right? But we've all kind of basically infected people who can spread the infection through biting and whatever. Basically, that's a zombie nowadays. Like, that's the umbrella term for it. But I will if I do it, or I will be doing a breakdown and review for the film when it comes out. I will refer to them as infected or rage infected, so not to piss off the people in the comments who will be like, they're not zombies. I know technically they're not zombies, but they kind of are. It is a zombie genre style film, right? Anyways, but yeah, so the film comes out on June 20th. It I believe, let me double check here. Oops. Yeah. Just there we go. There we go. It does star Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, Ray Fiennes. Let's see who else is notable in here. Obviously, Cillian Murphy, Gordon Alexander, Maura Bird, Sam Locke. I mean, this is a pretty stacked cast. And as I said before, the most important thing, Danny Boyle returns to direct, not only to write, but also to direct the film along with Alex Garland. That's the only thing that I have kind of reservations on it. I know that Alex Garland was involved with the originals. And Alex Garland isn't he's a good writer, right? I love Annihilation. But lately, I feel like he wants to talk about deeper subjects and then holds himself back so that he doesn't piss anybody off. And you can't have a meaningful conversation if you're worried about upsetting somebody, right? If you're going to honestly, if you're going to tell the truth, sometimes you're going to upset people. There are people who don't like the truth, right? Let's just say it that way, I mean, I'm being a little bit vague, but if you know, you know. But there are some people who don't like the truth or do anything they can to cover up that truth or put out lies, And so when filmmakers or whatever would like to address those things, from their own perspective, I think studios often will be like, okay, well, you need to pull back on this because marketability and all that stuff like that. I think that actually, when you try to make a film that appeals to everyone, you kind of ruin the film's potential of meaning anything at all, right? Of having any kind of impact, And so hopefully with Danny Boyle, and the let's say the weight that he is able to throw around in Hollywood, let's hope that he was able to keep the film intact and more along what he wanted to say, and that's why he was glad to return, But I guess we'll find out. Again, June 20th in theaters. So make sure, you check that out. Again, we will also be doing a review and then a full breakdown. All right. Well, I guess Steve is absent today. I haven't heard from him or anything like that, but we are nearing the end of the stream here anyways. I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to talk about. Again, like I said, we're now doing weekly reviews and breakdowns. The reviews are on Wednesdays. The breakdowns are on Fridays. I will also, if it's a TV show that I'm invested in or people are invested in, like for example Alien Earth, I'll do Monday episode breakdowns because usually the shows air on Sunday, right? And so then I'll have a breakdown and review on the following day, right? So that you guys can we can all talk about it there and stuff. Let me know in the comments if that's something you guys want to see, and if you have any suggestions of shows you would like us to cover. It'll either be me or Sarah hosting, but and of course then our regular weekly videos, right, every Mondays and Fridays will still be happening, and then throughout the week we'll have our shorts that drop. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch, me at Raging Antibody and Sarah at SEA_J94. We will be joined by a new streamer soon. Her name is Emmy. If you've been here since the beginning of the channel, you've probably seen us stream Phasmophobia before. Well, she is now thinking about full-time streaming, and she will, I believe, go under the moniker chill_skinwalker. Otherwise, it's Viagra_vape juice. Yeah. So make sure to write those down and follow them. But you can check out any of their socials. They're all listed below on the channel description. And make sure you say hello and give us some love by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. If you really want to support us, click that join button for the membership where we have exclusive videos. from members that we drop every month, as well as behind the scenes stuff that you get access to on our Discord. We are still planning on making a short film this year. We are just making sure that we have a decent grip on our schedule, but we do want to put out a short film, hopefully by Halloween this year again. So keep an eye out for that. If all things go smoothly, expect a trailer probably around end of August for our film. But yeah, that's it. That's it for today. It's a pretty short monthly stream. There wasn't too much to talk about this time. Again, it's just me. Sorry about that. But everybody's got stuff going on. It's the summer. What do you expect, right? Except for me. I will be doing stuff this summer, but right now this took my priority, I guess. But all right, guys, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys soon. Peace.